The stars shimmered bright as the massive alien ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, casting a long shadow over the bustling city below. People stopped in their tracks, eyes wide with a mix of awe and fear. This was no ordinary visit. It was the arrival of Vera, the famed diplomat from the distant star system of Zilara. Inside the great hall of the United Nations spaceport, the room buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from every nation gathered to witness the historic moment. Cameras clicked, and whispers filled the air. Among the crowd stood Captain Marcus Hale, a seasoned human officer known for his calm under pressure and sharp mind. Marcus's eyes followed the large doors as they slowly opened. Vera appeared, tall and regal, her skin shimmering with a subtle blue glow, her eyes sharp and commanding. She moved with grace, every step confident and deliberate. Her presence alone demanded respect. The room fell silent. Vera raised a hand, and her voice echoed clearly, "Humans, I come in peace. Yet respect must be shown before talks can begin." She turned her gaze to Marcus, and without hesitation said, "Captain Hale, kneel before me." A collective gasp swept through the hall. Kneeling was a sign of submission in Vera's culture, something few would expect from a proud human soldier. All eyes turned to Marcus, waiting to see if he would refuse or fight back. But Marcus did something unexpected. He slowly lowered himself to one knee. His face remained calm, but inside, a storm of emotions raged. No one understood what was going on in his mind. To most, it seemed like defeat, but to Marcus, this moment was different. It was exactly what he wanted. As a child, Marcus had grown up in a strict military academy, where humility was taught as a strength. Kneeling was never about weakness. It was about trust, respect, and discipline. Now, in front of an alien race, he found himself connected to that feeling again. Vera's eyes narrowed, trying to read his expression. The room waited breathlessly. Marcus looked up at her, not with fear, but with a quiet pride. The silence broke as Vera nodded slowly. "You understand the weight of respect. Perhaps you are not like others." The tension eased slightly. The diplomats whispered among themselves, realizing this was no ordinary human. Marcus rose from his knee, standing tall once more. He met Vera's gaze and spoke with steady confidence. "I am ready to listen." Vera smiled faintly, impressed. "Then our dialogue begins." Outside, the world watched in wonder. In that moment, something new was born. A bridge between species, forged not through power or fear, but through a shared understanding of respect. And deep inside Marcus, he knew this was only the beginning. After the tense moment of kneeling, the room slowly returned to normal. But the air was still thick with unspoken questions. The diplomats whispered behind closed doors, trying to understand Captain Marcus Hale's unexpected reaction. To them, kneeling was a sign of submission, a sign that humans would yield easily to the alien race. But Marcus knew better. Inside him, kneeling meant trust, strength, and honor. And that made all the difference. Back in his quarters, Marcus sat alone, staring at the small holographic image of his family. He remembered his childhood, how kneeling was a part of his training. It wasn't weakness, it was discipline. It was choosing to lower oneself to gain something greater: respect, trust, or peace. The next day, the formal talks began. Vera's delegation presented their demands carefully. They wanted access to Earth's resources, technology exchange, and a promise of peace between their species. Many of the human diplomats frowned. They expected a fight. They expected resistance. But Marcus stayed calm. He listened closely, watching Vera's every gesture. Vera was not just a diplomat. She was a strategist. Her words were precise, her tone firm but fair. She did not seek to dominate. She wanted cooperation. At one point, a human delegate challenged her. "Why should we trust a species so different from ours? Why kneel before you when we have never done so for anyone?" The room grew silent, all eyes on Marcus. Vera glanced at him, waiting for his answer. Marcus stood slowly, his voice steady. Trust isn't about power or fear. It's about respect. When I knelt, it wasn't to show weakness. It was to show that I am open to understanding. He looked directly at Vera. If we want peace, we must learn to see each other's strengths, not weaknesses. Vera smiled slightly, impressed by his words. A wise answer, Captain. Despite the calm words, Marcus felt the weight of the moment. This was more than diplomacy. It was a test of humanity's willingness to embrace the unknown. But there was something else stirring inside him. Beneath the formal talks and political games, Marcus felt a growing curiosity about Vera. She was strong, proud, and unlike anyone he had ever met. Later, in a private meeting, Vera spoke quietly. Captain Hale, you surprised me. Few humans would kneel willingly. Few understand the meaning behind it. Marcus nodded. It's not easy to explain. It's a part of me, my past, my beliefs. Vera leaned forward. Maybe that is why I feel intrigued, not just by you, but by your kind. Marcus felt a small smile. For the first time, he saw her not as an alien commander, but as a person who could understand him. As the meeting ended, both knew this was only the beginning. The challenge was real, but so was the possibility of something greater. Outside, Earth's skyline glowed under the setting sun. Two worlds had met, and the story of their connection was just unfolding. Captain Marcus Hale walked quietly through the corridors of the spaceport, his thoughts heavy but focused. The formal talks had begun, but beneath the surface, something deeper stirred inside him, a secret he had long kept hidden. As a child growing up on Earth, Marcus had been raised in a strict military academy known for its discipline and harsh training. From a young age, he was taught to value respect, loyalty, and strength, but not the kind that comes from power or fear. Instead, the strongest showed humility. In the academy, kneeling wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a tradition, a ritual that symbolized trust and honor. When a superior ordered a soldier to kneel, it was a test of character, to accept discipline, to show readiness to serve, and to gain a deeper connection. Marcus had learned to see it as a source of pride. But this wasn't something he ever shared with others. Most people misunderstood. They thought kneeling meant submission. For Marcus, it was the opposite. He remembered one cold night in the academy, when he had been overwhelmed by doubts and fear. His commanding officer had ordered him to kneel. At that moment, Marcus had felt a strange calm wash over him. Kneeling helped him find strength and vulnerability. Now, facing Vera and her people, those old lessons came rushing back. Marcus stopped outside the meeting room and took a deep breath. He knew that Vera's order to kneel was more than a political statement. It was a challenge to see if he could embrace something beyond human pride. He glanced down at his boots, remembering how those boots had walked through battles, storms, and sacrifices. Kneeling wasn't defeat, it was acceptance. Later, during a private debrief with his closest advisors, Marcus kept his thoughts guarded. They were puzzled by his calm and cooperation. Marcus, one officer said quietly, "Why did you kneel? It's unlike us." Marcus looked at them, his eyes steady. Because sometimes strength isn't about standing tall all the time. Sometimes it's about choosing when to bow, not out of fear, but out of respect. His advisors exchanged uncertain looks. They had been trained to fight, to resist at all costs. But Marcus knew there was power in understanding. That night, Marcus sat alone in his quarters, staring at the starry sky through the window. He thought about Vera, her sharp eyes, her confident voice, and the way she commanded respect without raising her hand. He felt a strange connection growing between them, one built on silent understanding rather than words. Marcus reached out to the small communicator on his desk and sent a simple message. We need to talk, not as diplomats, but as two beings trying to understand each other. It was a risky move, but one he felt he had to make. In the quiet of the night, the line between soldier and man blurred. For the first time, Marcus wasn't just a captain. He was someone ready to embrace what it truly meant to kneel and to rise stronger. The next morning, the conference room buzzed with tension and expectation. Delegates from Earth and Zilara filled the large circular table, their voices low but serious. Cameras and translators hummed, capturing every word for the watching millions across the galaxy. At the center stood Captain Marcus Hale, calm and focused. Vera, the alien diplomat, sat opposite him, her piercing blue eyes watching every move he made. Today was the real test of their meeting. Not just to talk, but to build a bridge between two very different worlds. Vera began, her voice steady and clear. Humans, we seek peace. But peace requires understanding. We must learn your ways, and you must learn ours. The room listened intently as she outlined the terms her people wanted. Access to Earth's technology, resource sharing, and joint defense agreements were among their requests. It was a lot to consider, and many on Earth's side looked uneasy. Marcus listened carefully, knowing that diplomacy was about more than just words. It was about reading intentions and finding common ground. When one human delegate spoke harshly against the demands, Marcus raised his hand to speak. "We must not rush to judgment," he said, his voice steady. "Vera's people have come a long way to meet us. They respect our strength and our values. It is our duty to respect theirs in return." Some delegates murmured agreement, others remained skeptical. But Marcus's calm tone set a different mood, one of possibility instead of fear. Vera nodded. "Captain Hale understands the importance of respect. That is why I asked him to kneel, not to humiliate, but to build trust." Marcus felt the weight of her words. He recalled the moment he knelt before her, how it was a choice, not a surrender. The talks continued, and slowly, the walls between the two sides began to crumble. Vera shared stories of her people's struggles, their hopes for peace, and their desire to build a future together. Marcus shared Earth's history of conflicts, but also its resilience and hope. A quiet respect grew in the room. After hours of discussion, Vera proposed a break. Marcus stood and walked to a quieter corner where Vera awaited. "You surprised us all," she said softly. "Most humans would have refused my order. You accepted it with honor." Marcus smiled faintly. "Because kneeling means different things to different people. To me, it is strength in humility." Vera's eyes softened. "Perhaps there is more to your kind than I realized." For a moment, they simply looked at each other, two leaders from worlds apart, yet connected by something deeper. As the meeting resumed, both knew that this was more than a political negotiation. It was the start of a new chapter, one where understanding could lead to peace. Outside, the sun set behind Earth's horizon, painting the sky with colors of hope. Marcus returned to his seat, ready for whatever came next. The days following the intense diplomacy were filled with cautious conversations and quiet observation. Marcus found himself meeting with Vera more often, away from the crowded rooms and watchful eyes of diplomats. Each meeting revealed more about her culture, her people, and, surprisingly, about herself. One afternoon, in a small garden within the spaceport's diplomatic center, Marcus and Vera stood side by side. The air was warm, filled with the scent of alien flowers and Earth's familiar greenery. For a moment, the weight of politics lifted. Vera glanced at Marcus and said, "You surprised me, Captain. Your willingness to kneel. It was not just obedience. It was respect, but also something else I cannot yet name." Marcus smiled thoughtfully. "In my world, kneeling is complicated. It can mean submission, but it can also mean trust, loyalty, and strength. It's about knowing when to bend so you don't break." She studied him, intrigued. That is a wisdom rare among leaders. Most see power only as control. You see it as balance. Their talks grew more personal with time. Marcus shared stories of Earth's history, of wars and peace, of humanity's flaws and hopes. Vera spoke of Zilara's struggles, their quest for unity, and the heavy burden of leadership. Despite their differences, a bond formed, one built on mutual respect and curiosity. One evening, after a long day of negotiations, Vera invited Marcus to a traditional Zelleran meal. The food was unfamiliar but delicious, and the atmosphere relaxed. They laughed, exchanged jokes, and for a while, the alien and the human were just two individuals, not representatives of entire worlds. Later, as the stars appeared in the dark sky, Vera confessed, "I did not expect to find this connection. You are unlike any human I have met." Marcus nodded. "And you're unlike any alien I have faced." Their eyes met, and for a moment, words were unnecessary. But the bond wasn't just emotional. It grew stronger in action. When a security alert sounded, signaling a threat near the spaceport, Marcus and Vera quickly coordinated a response. Their teamwork was seamless, built on trust and understanding. Together, they faced the danger calmly, protecting not just themselves but everyone around them. After the crisis passed, Vera said quietly, "Your willingness to kneel was just the beginning. It opened a door to something greater, trust between us." Marcus replied, "And trust is the foundation of any alliance. Without it, even the strongest walls crumble." As the night deepened, the two stood looking out at the stars, knowing that the future was uncertain but hopeful. The bond they formed was fragile but real, a symbol of what could be achieved when two very different beings chose to understand rather than fear each other. And for Marcus, that made every moment, every step, every choice worth it. The calm of the diplomatic talks was shattered suddenly. An alarm echoed through the spaceport, sharp and urgent. Marcus and Vera, who were deep in discussion, snapped to attention. "Security breach," a voice called out over the intercom. "Unknown vessels approaching fast." Vera's eyes narrowed. "This is no accident. Someone wants to disrupt our talks, to ignite war between our worlds." Marcus didn't hesitate. "We need to protect everyone here. Let's move." Together, they rushed to the command center, where screens displayed multiple hostile ships closing in. The attackers came from a rival alien faction, known for their hatred of peace between humans and Zellerans. "We have to act fast," Marcus said, already calculating strategies in his mind. "We can't let them destroy this chance for peace." Vera nodded. "Agreed. We must combine our forces." In moments, human and Zelleran soldiers gathered, their weapons ready. Marcus took command of the human defense squads, while Vera coordinated the Zelleran fleet. The battle was fierce. The enemy ships fired with precision, trying to break through the spaceport's shields. Explosions rocked the surrounding area, and panic threatened to spread among the civilians. But Marcus stayed calm, issuing orders clearly. "Hold the line. Protect the civilians. Don't give them an inch." Vera's fleet responded with expert maneuvers, their energy weapons cutting through the attackers' ranks. She sent a quick message to Marcus. "Prepare for a counterattack. I'll need your support." Marcus replied instantly, "Ready when you are." As the battle raged, Marcus noticed something. The enemy's formation was weak on one side. He suggested to Vera a coordinated strike there. With a shared plan, human and Zelleran forces launched a powerful counterattack. Ships moved in perfect sync, breaking the enemy's line and forcing them to retreat. The alarm finally ceased. The spaceport was safe. Exhausted but relieved, Marcus and Vera met in the command center. "You fought well," Vera said, her voice steady but tired. "So did you," Marcus replied. "We made a good team." For the first time, they truly saw each other as equals, not just diplomats or soldiers, but partners in a shared mission. The attack had been a test, but it had also strengthened their bond. They had faced danger together and come out stronger. Later, in a quiet moment, Vera looked at Marcus and said, "Your willingness to kneel showed trust. Today, your courage in battle showed strength." Marcus smiled. Sometimes, knowing when to kneel and when to fight is the true mark of a leader. The threat had been real, but so was their growing alliance. Outside, the stars shone brightly, as if celebrating a new hope, a hope born from understanding, respect, and courage. The battle had ended, but the tension remained. Both humans and Zellerans were on edge, aware that peace was fragile. In the quiet that followed, Vera and Marcus found themselves once again face to face, this time in the ship's command chamber. "Captain Hale," Vera said, her voice steady but with an edge of command, "I need you to kneel once more." Marcus's heart quickened. The request was unexpected, especially after the battle, but he saw no hesitation. He lowered himself to one knee with calm determination. Vera's eyes softened slightly as she explained, "This is not just tradition. It's a signal, a command to activate the ship's defense systems remotely. Only those I trust can give this order." Marcus nodded, understanding the weight behind the gesture. It was a test of trust, loyalty, and cooperation all at once. As Marcus knelt, he activated the protocol. Instantly, energy shields flared around the ship, and defense drones buzzed to life, ready to protect them again if needed. The gesture was more than a tactical move. It was a moment of connection between two very different species. Vera had trusted Marcus to act without hesitation, and he had accepted. When Marcus rose, their eyes met with new understanding. "You have proven your loyalty," Vera said, "not just as an ally, but as a partner." The room was silent, but the significance of the moment was clear. This small act of kneeling had become a symbol of their growing bond, one that could withstand threats and challenges alike. Later, as the night deepened, Marcus reflected on the meaning behind the order. Kneeling had never been about submission for him. It was about trust and choosing to stand with someone else, even if it meant lowering himself for a moment. Vera watched him quietly, sensing the depth of his conviction. The next day, the talks resumed with renewed energy. The delegates, inspired by the courage and trust shown by Marcus and Vera, began to see the possibility of real cooperation. For Marcus, the experience was transformative. He understood that leadership wasn't about always standing tall, but knowing when to kneel, to listen, to trust, and to act with honor. Vera, too, realized that strength could come from humility and partnership. Together, they were no longer just representatives of their worlds. They were the living proof that understanding and respect could change the course of history. Outside, the stars continued to shine, as if lighting the path forward for two species learning to walk side by side. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Marcus and Vera sat opposite each other, the glow from the control panels casting shadows across their faces. It was a rare moment of peace between the endless discussions and negotiations. Marcus looked at Vera thoughtfully. "I want to tell you more about why kneeling means so much to me." Vera inclined her head, curious. "I am listening." Marcus took a deep breath. "Back on Earth, in the military academy where I grew up, kneeling was not a sign of weakness. It was a sign of discipline, trust, and honor. When a superior ordered a soldier to kneel, it was a way to build loyalty and respect, not to humiliate." Vera's eyes softened. "It is different for us. Kneeling is a symbol of submission, but I see now that it can have many meanings." Marcus nodded. "Exactly. When you ordered me to kneel, I didn't see myself as inferior. I saw a chance to build a connection, to show that I trusted you." He paused, then added, "It's strange, but I think I wanted to kneel. Not because I was forced, but because it gave me a sense of purpose and belonging. It reminded me of who I am." Vera studied him quietly. "I underestimated humans. I thought your pride would make you refuse, but you surprised me." Marcus smiled. Sometimes pride is about knowing when to be humble. The revelation changed something between them. For the first time, Vera saw Marcus not just as a representative of Earth, but as a man with hopes, fears, and values that crossed the boundaries of their cultures. She reached out and touched his arm lightly, a gesture of trust and friendship. "You are different, Marcus Hale," she said softly, "and I am glad." Outside, the stars glittered like distant promises, reminding them that their journey together was just beginning. The conference hall was filled with anticipation. Delegates from Earth and Zilara gathered once again, ready to hear the results of the ongoing talks. After weeks of discussions, tensions, and unexpected moments of trust, today would be the day when a new alliance might finally be formed. Captain Marcus Hale stood at the front, his posture confident yet humble. Beside him stood Vera, her presence calm and commanding. Together, they represented the hope of two worlds eager to find peace. Marcus stepped forward and spoke clearly. "We have learned much from each other. Our cultures are different, but our goals are the same: peace, prosperity, and mutual respect." He glanced at Vera, who nodded in agreement before continuing. "The gesture of kneeling, which once meant submission to us, has become a symbol of trust between our peoples." Captain Hale's willingness to kneel was not weakness, but strength. The room erupted in applause. Many delegates who had been skeptical at first now saw the potential for true cooperation. Plans were unveiled for shared technology development, cultural exchanges, and joint defense programs. The alliance promised to benefit both species, opening new doors for exploration and growth. Later, Marcus and Vera met privately. "This is just the beginning," Marcus said. "Building peace will take time and effort." Vera smiled. "But we have taken the hardest step: trust." They both knew challenges lay ahead, but their bond had set a strong foundation. Outside, the stars twinkled with promise, shining on a future where humans and Zellerans would walk together as allies. Years had passed since the first moment Marcus knelt before Vera. What began as an unexpected gesture had grown into a lasting bond between two worlds. Earth and Zilara were no longer strangers but partners, united by trust and respect. Marcus now stood in the grand hall of the Interstellar Council, his uniform decorated with symbols of honor from both species. Beside him, Vera carried herself with the same proud dignity, her eyes reflecting the many challenges they had overcome. They had traveled together across the stars, sharing knowledge, culture, and hopes. Their alliance had grown stronger, inspiring others to believe in the power of understanding. As Marcus looked out over the gathered crowd, he thought back to that first kneel, how it had felt like surrender, but was actually his way of standing tall in a new way. A young Zelleran approached him, bowing respectfully. "Captain Hale, your actions changed everything. You showed us that strength comes from trust." Marcus smiled. "And you taught me that leadership is about knowing when to listen." Vera joined them, her voice warm. "Together, we proved that respect bridges worlds." The council chamber echoed with applause, a celebration not just of peace but of a new future. Outside, stars shimmered brighter than ever, lighting the path ahead. Marcus and Vera exchanged a glance filled with quiet pride. They knew the journey was far from over, but now they walked it side by side. Because sometimes the greatest strength is found in the moments when you choose to kneel.